Namaste and welcome to another episode of IKS Changemakers, an Indica podcast. This is your host Shivakumar, serving and nurturing IKS Changemakers at Indica. In this podcast, we bring you people, their thought and their work, which is essentially Dharma in action through Indian knowledge systems. Our IKS Changemaker for the day is Shri Muneet Dhiman, the Kulapati of Vidyakshetra Gurukulam in the outskirts of Bangalore. Today we are discussing Panchakosha, a conceptual framework that is very close to Shri Muneet's heart and which is also the foundational principle on which the Vidyakshetra Gurukulam is organized. Join us and we hope you will enjoy this exploration and deep understanding of Panchakosha framework and its multi-dimensional importance for our culture. Namaste, Shri Muneet.
Namaste, Shivaji.
I know Shri Muneet for over 25 years. We worked together in our previous avatar in the technology industry. And Shri Muneet is a graduate of Delhi Technology University and has been a very successful technologist, and also has gone on to don several other roles within the IT services industry. Before moving on to establish Vidyakshetra Gurukulam, I think it was in the year 2014 that you established.
2016.
2016.
Is when we started. But 2012 is when we started this
journey. And I have been part of this journey since 2012. And I have been a witness to this evolution of this Panchakosha framework into a very successful Gurukulam, which is completely founded on the Bharatiya Tattva, but very successfully facing the modern world. Welcome again, Shri Muneet, and today we are going to discuss Panchakosha, which we have been discussing for a very long time. And it is time for not just Bharat, but also the world to take a very deep look at the kind of depth that Indian culture had evolved and translated that into very successful systems for the individuals and the society.
Thank you, Shivakumar, for calling me for this discussion. A long pending one, I would say, from both my side, I would say primarily. But I'm very happy to be here and share whatever we have implemented at Vidyakshetra.
Dhanyavad, Muniji. Let's begin with a brief explanation of the Panchakosha framework as a first step towards a deeper conversation.
So basically, this comes from Taittireeyopanishad, and many of our acharyas have given their bhashya on what it means, because our Upanishads just briefly give details, and it speaks about there are 5 atmas, what we say the Pancha atmas. That's what is the word actually captured in Shankar Bhashya. We talk about Anandamaya Atma, we talk about Pranamaya Atma, we talk about Manomaya Atma, Vignanamaya Atma and Anandamaya Atma. Gradually in other detailing, when over the years when it got more detailed by other acharyas, it became also known as Koshas. So Kosh means something which is kept inside a bag or a sack like that. So the perfect way or a very close way to understanding Panchakoshas would be 5 layers which every being has. And these are these 5 layers where the grossest is the Annamaya Kosha. The more subtler to that is Pranamaya, then is Manomaya, Vignanamaya and Anandamaya Kosha. So Anandamaya Kosha is the subtlest, which is there. Now each of these koshas has relationship with you all the time, always, because you're born with all these five together. At the same time, specific to your age, there is a sort of dance happening, you can say, like on a stage. If there are 7-8 artists, but the spotlight is focusing on few. So while all these koshas are operating at the same time, during a specific age, some koshas take more importance than the others. For example, very simple to understand, that that when you are in the garbha of your mother, while your body is still there, the Annamaya Kosha, your systems are still not functioning, because your breathing system, your respiratory system, your digestive systems are still not functional. They are just in the physical form. But whatever you are hearing through your mother, whatever you are going through, the impressions are already falling on your chitta. That means your Anandamaya Kosha is already very sakriya at that time. And hence it is told that most of the samskaras on a child, the most powerful age is actually when you are in garbha or in your shishu avastha, which is your first 6 years after birth. And that's why most of our samskaras in Bharatiya tradition happen when you are young. So this is just one example of how these koshas are interplaying with each other. So this is broad definition, I would say, which is sufficient for us as of now to understand, and then maybe as we proceed further, I can go more deeper.
Absolutely fantastic. But before we step into a deeper investigation and inquiry, can you just briefly highlight certain essential features of each of these koshas, so that our conversation can further be evolved around that?
Sure. So Annamaya Kosha means the physical body that we have. So we have, which is basically nothing but Anna. The Pancha Bhootas are coming together and giving certain shape to our body, and we're talking about the Annamaya Kosha in that context. Now, it is this kosha which is having all the organs. So what do you do to develop these organs? What do you do so that your Annamaya Kosha is good? Is what is the subject matter of upbringing of the child, whether at home or in the Gurukul or in the society. So child learns in all the three dimensions, and whether home environment or school environment or the society, and that development of Annamaya Kosha is the subject matter of the first topic. I will just quickly talk about 3-4 things that go over there. For example, are you sleeping well? Are you eating well? Are you playing sufficiently? So your food, your sleep, and your play is what basically defines how good your Annamaya Kosha will be. And that is where we have to focus on improving one aspect or the other for the child to develop holistically in a good form in the Annamaya Kosha. When we come to the Pranamaya Kosha, now that's your, in one sense, the systemic part of your body. And we have different types of, vayu in our body. And these vayus, when we say, apana, samana, prana, then udana and vyana, these are the types of vayu which is running the whole system. Some is functioning for, below the chest area. Some is functioning above the neck area. Some is responsible for your, different systems, whether it is nervous system or the digestive system or excretory system and all. So this systemic running of your system, of your body, is the responsibility of the Pranamaya Kosha. There are subtler aspects to these vayus also, which are supporting vayus. I will not go too much into the depth of that at present. But how to get this whole Pancha Prana or the 5 vayus that we are talking about is the subject matter of Pranamaya Kosha. Now, there again, we focus on many aspects. There are subtleties, whether it is yoga, whether it is pranayama, whether it is play again, whether it is, the subtleties of bringing the sanyama in the child, whether it is swad sanyam, whether it is artha sanyam, whether it is vani sanyam. Like that, there are various aspects in which we have to work with the child at home, again in the society and in the Gurukula, to work on the Pranamaya Kosha of the child. The third, which I feel is where the true sense, the role of acharyas or the teachers come in, is the Manomaya Kosha. Now, Manomaya Kosha is where the man, because that's the glue, where the man is playing the role. Now, our 6 anarthas are housed in the Manomaya Kosha, which is Kam, Krodh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya and Lobh. It is through the man that we interact with the world outside. It is through the man which colors, whatever is our impressions of the world. It is, so for example, if I put something on my tongue and you put something on your tongue, the transmission of, until unless the tongue is damaged, the transmission of the senses, what we call samvedanas, is same. It is the man that says, oh, I like it or I don't like it. Yeah? That color is given to it by the man. So its role is to take or put the likings and the dislikings and the dualities of our reaction to whatever is presented in front of us. So man vichar karta hai. Vichar bhi matlab to think on some topic. Man color karta hai usko. Man interactions में participate करता है कि how are we interacting with the world outside. So all these things is the role of a Manomaya Kosha. Now, next to it is Vignanamaya Kosha. Vignanamaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha is very deeply coupled. For a person who is able to control or manage the man, it listens to your intelligence, which is Vignanamaya Kosha. Otherwise, your intelligence has to listen to your man. So that's what Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita. For one who's controlled his mind, mind is the best of the friends. Otherwise, mind is the worst of the enemies. This is what it means. This interplay between your Vignanamaya Kosha and your Manomaya Kosha is always going on. So that color, for example, in today's generation, we see children, they are like, oh, I don't like to eat this. I don't like eating that. I hate that. And most of the times I see that parents give in to that tantrums of the child. So the man is becoming more and more powerful. Whereas the same food, one child would like, the other would not like. But the intelligence would tell, no, it is healthy, you should eat. And if the own intelligence of the child is not working, if the parent's intelligence sort of supports that movement, then the child is still, sort of convinced, inspired, or sometimes even forced to eat. And then the child's Manomaya Kosha learns to listen to the higher or the more subtler aspect, which is the Vignanamaya Kosha. So Vignanamaya Kosha is where your understanding of living and life, your decision making, your choices. So basically, that is where your dharma resides.
So the sense of balance comes from the Vignanamaya Kosha.
So if your the Viveka resides there, if your Vignanamaya Kosha is developed, you have a very good understanding of, in that moment, what should I do? That's Viveka. What is right to be done? Dharma, I have a very simple definition for students. Sometimes they ask, because many young children are coming, so it has to be simplified. So what I tell, Dharma's definition is, if you want to do something and it is not meant to be done, not doing it. And you don't want to do something and it is meant to be done, doing it. That is Dharma. It's very simple. Simplified. Now, whether it is meant to be done or not meant to be done is the subject matter of Vignanamaya Kosha and Viveka. Now, that is what is the crux of our education, where we should ideally be focusing. I am writing a white paper on this subject matter, that how Bharatiya society, which was actually living, see, society is a sum total of people. And if more people live in Vignanamaya Kosha, if their Vignanamaya Kosha is developed and they're living in Vignanamaya Kosha, that means the society is living in Vignanamaya Kosha. Bharat, when it was called as Vishwaguru, it was residing in Vignanamaya Kosha. Unfortunately, over last few hundred years, due to whatever the reasons, we know most of the reasons, some consciously done and some are of our doing and our mistakes, we have come down one level from living as a society in Vignanamaya Kosha to today living in Manomaya Kosha. And that is where we should focus on how do we lift our whole society up back to the Vignanamaya Kosha, because Vignanamaya Kosha is where beyond that is Chitta. Beyond that is a subject matter of Anandamaya Kosha, which is beyond explanation, it is only exploration.
Absolutely. While you presented the tragedy of Bharat in one sentence, I would like to further elaborate that, while we are residing in largely in the Manomaya, we are also residing in the Annamaya and Pranamaya in completely wrong ways.
Absolutely.
So in some ways, I feel that there is an interrelationship between all the koshas. When the right part of the Annamaya Kosha is in operation, I think it strengthens the right part of Manomaya and the right part of Vignanamaya. So I think we will need to have yet another podcast to explore the theoretical interrelationship between these. But we'll come to that separately because we have a few other points to cover.
Would like to just add one more point to that, just one point, since you brought about the interrelation. See, so all these, while they are koshas, there is a beautiful connectivity. For example, the Annamaya Kosha is, as I told, food, sleep and play is very important for that. For the Pranamaya Kosha, there is a nice verse from Mahabharata, Ahara Nidra Bhaya Maithunam Cha Samanya Metat Pashubhir Naranam. So this ahara, nidra, bhaya and maithun, which is food, sleep, fear and procreation. All these four elements are common between animals and human beings. Dharmo hi tesho adhiko vishesha. Dharmena hina pashubhir samana. So one who has the understanding of dharma, only that understanding of dharma differentiates a human being from an animal. Otherwise he is like an animal. Now these four elements, the ahara and nidra, connects the pranamaya with the annamaya. And the bhaya and maithun connects with the manomaya. Now this glue between these layers is very beautiful to explore, and I would like to maybe in due course of time share one example on how the kama and this relationships interplay.
Yeah. This is fundamentally a model of man, which the modern biology is completely lacking, because biology is void of psychology and so many other dimensions. Since the disciplines are split, you don't study a man in an integral manner.
Shri Aurobindo spoke about it and written extensively on integral education, integral yoga. And such a wonderful work we have just kept aside, and not integrated in our own systems.
Yeah. He's the Rishi of our times, and it is the light that he has thrown. Only in that light we will be able to bring back the civilization. That's for another day. One quick question, maybe you can answer this in brief. Which are the shastras, texts, where there is some kind of an elaboration of the Panchakoshas, because that's important for our readers to go back and explore.
So as I briefly told that Taittireeyopanishad is actually the fundamental Upanishad or the book which refers to Panchakoshas. Especially, there is a beautiful analogy given in Taittireeyopanishad with a bird. And for each kosha, it is sort of divided into 5: the head, the right wing, the left wing, the heart, and the tail. So, so now it was in one sense not so straightforward for somebody who is reading it for the first time to understand. So hence, when you go to reading Taittireya Upanishad and you are reading it in with some elaboration given by some of our acharyas, so whether it is Shankaracharya or Madhvacharya or Ramanujacharyas, because on principal Upanishads you need to give explanations if you have to be called as an acharya in Sanatan Dharma. So all the acharyas have given these details. So when we go through it in context with our own understanding of sampradaya, or in context of education or society, so Panchakosha formed actually the foundation of entire social as well as education setup in our country.
Absolutely.
It was deeply integrated with Purusharthas framework. It was deeply integrated with Prakriti and Guna framework. It was deeply integrated with Vyashti, Samashti, Srishti and Parmeshti framework. All these frameworks today we have kept aside and we are not taking into consideration. So I invite viewers and readers to go through Taittireya Upanishad and the bhashyas given by our acharyas. There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita also which brings about the Panchakosha aspect.
Fantastic. So that itself is another exploration.
Yes.
But on the interconnection, I would like to elevate it and say that there is a larger integrity across all concepts which actually forms a single body of knowledge, the Hindu ontology. The dynamic of the universe being Srishti Sthiti Laya, the universe operating at 3 levels of Adhibhautika, Adhidaivika and Adhyatmika, then the Chaturvidha Purusharthas, then the
Gunas.
Panchakoshas, and then the Trigunas, Trishaktis. They're all parallels, and they're all operating. Each is operating at a certain level, firing the other. That representing that itself would be a complex graph in the modern representation schema. We may not be able to go into the complete depth of all concepts, which will be like 100 to 200 maybe. But let's explore a few in relation to Panchakosha.
Sure.
How do you see the relationship of Panchakosha with Chaturvidha Purushartha? And then let's go to Triguna, Trishakti a little bit.
Sure. So maybe a couple of examples I will take, and that will, I think, bring home the point and beauty. So one is that you told that put it into a graph. See, the whole Bharatiya Drishti was to never actually bring it in that manner. The representation, because it's so deeply integrated, that it's not possible to diagrammatically represent all these interplay of all these frameworks.
I'll say that a planar representation is harder for something that is operating in
multidimensional, and these are actually beyond maybe some dimensions that we can even we know or we have read or we have understood till now. So I will take a very simple example of dharma and kama, purusharthas. Now dharma is the purushartha as per which our artha and kama should be defined, and then moksha is guaranteed. That's the direction we progress in. Now, where does dharma reside? That we have to understand. Once we understand, then we can work with the student or with the person whom we are. So psychology, completely we have left this field aside. We are adopting all the Western modern frameworks. Maybe some good, some very shallow, but when our own framework of Panchakosha and Dharma is so deep, why don't we at least give it a proper read and understanding? So Dharma resides in Vignanamaya Kosha, as we briefly discussed. So when we work with the student on working on the aspect of developing the Viveka in the child, then automatically the child's Vijnanamaya Kosha is developing. And that's where, the Dharma elements, the decision making, the balance element, the sustainability elements, the analysis, the synthesis aspects, the logical abilities, all these aspects, if you're working with the child, the Vijnanamaya Kosha builds. And that's when, the Dharma element starts kicking in. So Dharma element resides in Vijnanamaya Kosha, and that's the close relationship. Now, if your Dharma element is weak, that means you're operating out of Manomaya Kosha. And operating out of Manomaya Kosha means you're operating mostly out of your Mana, which is uncontrolled. So Mana means that means you would be given to greed, you are given to lust, you are given to pride, you are given to envy, jealousy, and all these the Shadripus are residing there. So your whole interactions with the world are marred with those elements. So automatically, if you meet a child who is not truthful, who is envious, jealous, that means the child is still, there's a lot of work to be done in the Manomaya Kosha itself for the child. Now, how do you do it? And that is where your pedagogy and your curriculum on the Pranamaya Kosha matters a lot. Because when the child is in the Balavastha, which is 6 to 12, the subconscious memory of the child should become so strong that when the mana kicks in at the age of 12, 13, 14, the subconscious helps the child overcome those difficult periods in his life or her life. And because we are failing as a society today in that area, it is so tough for people to deal with adolescents. It is so tough for people to deal with teenagers because we have no clue. We have not invested in the Balavastha, in children going very deep in their rhythm. See, Pranamaya Kosha and rhythm goes hand in hand. Because Shwasa, rhythmic, heartbeat, rhythmic, your daily rhythms of systems are all rhythmic. It is so deeply connected with the prana of the whole environment that if you haven't worked with the rhythm of the child in the Balavastha, Manomaya Kosha in the teenage will be very, very tough to manage. So this is one example of how Dharma, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha and Vignanamaya Kosha are interconnected. I will come to a very, very tough topic now. One example I want to take. See, most of our teenagers are given to lust. Yeah. Now, one part of kama is lust. It is Shadripus in one sense. In Manomaya Kosha, we are talking about kama as a ripu. And we are talking kama as a Purushartha
goal.
See, beautiful. Such powerful systems,
Yeah, we are the only civilization which has recognized both dimensions
of
it.
kama. Yeah.
And we are neutral to it. Rather, we are
not negative or positive.
We are neither negative, we are neither glorifying it, we are not neither putting it down. That binary we have overcome because we have a sense of, our
because
dharma.
We don't work in zeros and ones only. We are a civilization that has learned to live in grey. Yeah, we understand that relationships are analog. It is not digital. And that's the beauty of Bharatiya Samskriti. So the example I wanted to take was the same kama is a Purushartha and it is actually an Anartha. Now, in our physical reproductive system, if we see, in Pranamaya Kosha, we have got the reproductive system, which is functioning to address that propensity of satisfying this desire. In the Annamaya Kosha, we have reproductive organs to satisfy that need. In the Manomaya Kosha, we have got desire to have a physical relationship or procreate. That's the kama part of it. What is in Vignanamaya Kosha? So Vignanamaya Kosha tells us of how to practice restraint. After certain time, within a marriage boundary, after, only for, procreation, or even if not, then, to reduce it subsequently after a certain time. So this is coming from Vignanamaya Kosha, this aspect of. But how do you do it? It's so tough. That's why in our culture we appreciate brahmacharis and sannyasis, and that's why they wear saffron, because they have controlled this urge. But for grihasthas and samaj, what was the method? Kalas. Our arts were the method to transform this aspect of kama into prema, and prema resides in Anandamaya Kosha. Our aspect of transformation in sadhana resides in Vignanamaya Kosha. Because any kala that you take, you have to put sadhana, you have to put tapasya, and that is dharma, which resides in Vignanamaya Kosha. So all the 5 koshas, how beautifully are connected with this one aspect of kama, and transforming it from a vasana in one sense to prema in Anandamaya Kosha. And this was all possible through kalas. When you absorb in music, when you absorb in painting, when you absorb in nritya, or so, you get that taste which is of a higher order. And automatically it's a similar taste what the kama taste gives you, and you get a higher taste than that. It makes it easier for you to transform that feeling into prema. So this is the power of kama, and we have just killed it. Whole education is devoid of it, and schools which are giving it gives in a very small, it's like a tick mark, 20 minutes in a week, or 10 minutes in a week, whereas it's actually a matter of sadhana, where we have to develop, go deep, and then transform it, our being.
Fundamentally, what we have done is we have denied ourselves higher forms of joy. When you do that, there is always an overindulgence in the lower forms of joy.
Because you have no way to, even engage that.
You don't even know there is a higher form of joy.
There is a higher form. So the lower taste is the only taste we know at present. If you have not invested in that kala's taste, or working with your hands, you don't even know that taste exists.
Fantastic. Muniji, we understood the relationship between Purushartha and Panchakosha. Can we just reflect upon Panchakosha's relationship with Prakriti or with Trigunas a little bit?
Sure. Now, this is a subject matter very close to my heart personally, because I would say that, these are some very unique elements to what we are trying to do at Vidyakshetra. So every child is born with a certain Prakriti. Kapha, Vata, Pitta. Something is primary and some are secondary to other. We cannot change Prakriti of a child. So if a child is Kapha Prakriti, let's take it like that, and is having more Tamoguna, then the child will be very lazy by nature. It will be very tough to wake up this child early in the morning. Or if the child has to turn around some work, it will take him or her more time to, turn it around. Now, what do you do with this then? So there is no hope, or there is no way. Now, Prakriti cannot be changed, but the Guna-Partivartana can happen. So when you do Guna-Partivartana, so the Pranamaya Kosha is, again, the rhythms work very well. When you have brought it into a rhythm, whether you are a Pitta person or a Kapha person or a Vata person, you have to do certain things in rhythm. And that is what the Sanyama practices achieve. So our curriculum, our methodology should actually take care of helping a student have Samay Sahyam. That means the child should work on giving everything in a disciplined way, turning it around. Swad Sahyam. So no question of I don't like tomatoes, or I don't like capsicum, I don't like potatoes, I don't like this, I don't like that. So how to control your tongue? Swad Sahyam is for the intake. Likewise, there is something called as Vani Sahyam. How much to speak, what to speak, how to speak. So this is all happening in the Pranamaya Kosha. The whole pedagogy and the whole curriculum is built in a way that you are helping the child overcome the Prakriti dosha and do the Guna-Partivartana. The Parivartana from Tamo Guna, you are coming to Rajo and to Sattva. And the fourth type of Sahyam is Artha Sahyam, where how much to spend, what is Artha, what is Anartha, what is the value of things, what is the cost of things. These are different things. So our methodology and curriculum needs to address all these dimensions. So this is how you work with the Prakriti, the Gunas and the Koshas for the child. Now, not only that, the framework that we have built works with the child in the Bal Avastha till the age of 12. The children go through all the subjects, whatever are introduced in a sequential way. Some subjects are introduced at 8, some are 9, some at 10. And then after 12, we have a very clear idea of the Prakriti, Guna, and the overall abilities of the child. So we work with the child, the teachers, acharyas, and the parents, and then we, after 12 years, reduce the subject from 24 subjects to 16 subjects for the student. So the focus is brought in based on the Prakriti and the Guna. Yeah, and then at the age of 16, these 16 subjects are further brought down to only 9 subjects. Now I will take an example here again. The same Kapha child, if the Guna Parivartana has happened from Tamo Guna to Rajo to Sattva, can actually be a wonderful author, can be a great researcher, because it is Kapha Prakriti. Kapha Prakriti helps a child to go deep in one place, go deeper and deeper in subject. The same if it's a Vata Prakriti, forget it. A Vata person cannot be a researcher or a PhD student, because Vata means you are flowing from one to another. So the same Vata person can actually be a troubleshooter in relationships, can be a negotiator, can be a diplomat, can be an institutional builder. So like that, you have to engage with the child based on the Kosha, their Guna and their Prakriti, and decide what is the direction for them in their life. Similar example for a Pitta person. A Pitta Prakriti person in Tamo Guna will burn, can burn your house down, relationships burning, critical, very, very harsh, rude. But for running an engine, you need fire. So leadership roles. If that Guna Parivartana has happened for the child to Sattva and Rajas, then this child can actually be a good leader. Yeah, can actually move forward things, can be more disciplined, yeah, can be the one who can overcome their doshas much easier than compared to the others. So all these aspects we have to consider when we are actually setting a whole system. So our Purushartha, Guna, Prakriti and Panchakosha frameworks are so deeply integrated on the ground.
What you're fundamentally saying is not just about, carving the education of a child, but also, this integrated concept set, framework set can help us reimagine our institutions. There are theories to be developed based on these conceptual frameworks that will help us carving new social sciences, new institutional theories, new ways of career counseling, new ways of individual counseling, and so on. So that's a work, that's a very huge work that only institutions can really, take it up and scale. Sure. And hopefully the Indian knowledge systems movement that's happening will give an impetus to the creation of such theories as well. But let's, since you touched upon the education and how you have integrated this particular thing into Vidyakshetra curriculum, let's do a little bit deep dive into it. How is the entire curriculum, starting from the most early ages to the 15, 16 years that you are now currently taking care of? Of course, it will stretch beyond also. How is Panchakosha an integral form of everything?
Yeah, it's a big question, a lot of detail. I would see how to, keep it to the the time that we have on our hand. See,
we can do one more exclusively on
let's
that.
do that.
But right now,
Yeah.
let's
Just
do a
briefly,
foundational,
so that we get an idea at least.
Absolutely.
See, Shishu Avastha, I already told that it's about. So, Shishu Avastha, our curriculum and methodology is our kindergarten, what we call outside. I personally don't call it like that because it's not our own name.
We used to call it Shishu Vihara in Kannada.
Yeah, so here we call it Shishu Vatika at Vidyakshetra. So our Shishu Vatika, we focus on just providing a home environment for the child. Now, we should understand that that's not the age because the teeth has not fallen still, There were two questions asked when you used to go for an admission in the, not even so, even today in many villages, the admission might be happening like that. Has your tooth fallen? And can you cover your ear over your head? If the answer to any one of this is no, then you are not ready for admission. And that's why if you see, it was so deeply interlinked with your Upanayan Samskara. Your Upanayan Samskara used to happen at 7 or 8. Yeah, because by that time your tooth would have fallen and you can cover your ear over your head. And that is what we also say is your education now starts from outside. Yeah. So our whole society was deeply integrated with it. So in our Shishu Vatika, our role is to provide children a space for playing, for good healthy food, for taking rest, sleep. So students who come to Vidyakshetra in Shishu Vatika, they also sleep for some time. And to give them a very rich exposure to the environment which is culturally Bharatiya. Where festivals are celebrated with a lot of vibrancy, where the clothing is Bharatiya, where the food, the way we eat, our environment, everything speaks about that. When older children are reciting Sanskrit shlokas, they are in the environment, they are listening to those Sanskrit shlokas. When Bhagavad Gita is being recited, Amar Kosha is being recited, or Subhashitams are being recited, or Ramayana, Mahabharata is being sung by students, then the children should be listening to all these things, younger ones. So this is what we are ensuring in our Shishu Vatika. This, and also, of course, a lot of play area. So they cook once in a week. They play in the sand regularly. They go on a Prakriti Parichaya to nearby village or the temple or the house of a villager on regular basis like that. Then we come into the Bal Avastha, which is our 6 years to 12 years. Now, our curriculum framework over here is we have 24 subjects, which are divided into Ichcha-Kriya and Gnana Shakti part. And this is nothing new, So I feel very, I'm amazed when people introduce head, heart and hands and, all this as if it's their own framework. No, it's our Vedas framework. Our Vedas were divided into Upasana Kanda, Gnana Kanda and Karma Kanda. The same framework is what is integral part of our Panchakoshatmika Vikas. So nothing great what we are doing, it's our Rishi Parampara, what Rishis did for thousands of years. We are just trying to connect back those lost links, So, so we have divided these 24 subjects. And where did I learn it from, or where did we get this idea from? Sandipani Muni Ashram, if you go, there is a mention of 64 kalas, and then there are 64 kalas and 14 vidyas, 14 vidyas were there. So we are not able to introduce all these kalas today. It's our inability. But our Gurukulas were so vibrant and had so many kalas. So what we have done is we have divided them into 3 again, Ichcha-Kriya-Gnana. And in Kriya Shakti, we have 6 subjects where children do agriculture every day, where every year, 1 month, they build houses, traditional architecture with natural material, using clay bricks, using compressed mud blocks, roofs with grass, roofs with tiles, cup tiles, mangalore tiles, filler slabs, different methods we have tried. Third thing in Kriya, what children do is making cloth. We have handlooms at Vidyakshetra. We are this year making more than 2,000 meter cloth at Vidyakshetra. On handlooms, there are weavers who are working in our environment, teaching children about the cloth and handloom engineering. Then fourth is carpentry, where children make woodworking. We have pottery. And we have handwork and crochet and stitching, knitting, all these. So these are 6 activities that students are learning of the hand, which is the Kriya Shakti. Similarly, we have 6 subjects of the Ichcha Shakti, which is Shastriya Sangeet. So we have Hindustani vocal, we have tabla, we have flute, we have Bharatnatyam, we have painting, and we have theatre. We have a 250, then coming to the Jnana part, we have more than 250 experiments of sciences listed down for chemistry, physics, and biology. We have a whole lab for geometry where we are creating models which students learn. Mathematics is taught based on Bharatiya Ganita to a large extent. We are transitioning into a completely Bharatiya Ganit based mathematics. Our physics sound experiments are all based on Shastriya Sangeet, the frequencies, the harmony, and all what we learn. Likewise, natural dyeing is what is forming the base for our chemistry curriculum, which we are building now. As of now, it's a contemporary curriculum of sciences, but slowly we are transitioning into completely Bharatiya curriculum also. Then we have civilizational studies, which of course you anchor, and I'm very deeply thankful for your contribution and participation at Vidyakshetra. So civilizational studies, geography, and students learn Kalaripayattu. Kalaripayattu is Kerala's martial art, swimming, and yoga, and Krida, sports. So these are all 24 subjects put together, what students go through. Now, the Ichcha-Kriya-Gnana, that doesn't mean that, for painting you don't need knowledge. But the core focus is your feeling realm. If you are driven more by your head, you will see you will hit a wall at some point when you are, because painting requires a feeling flow, Likewise in music, a little more head and more heart compared to what the painting demands.
This is what Abanindranath Tagore criticized the Western art as materialistic, actually. I think it took many years for me to understand what that meant.
What it means, okay. So I don't know that so much on the subject matter, but what I understand is that for any student to holistically grow, we should not be just restricting the whole education to intellect. What we have done today, the whole education has been brought down to maths, science, and English. Now, nothing against maths, science, and English. These are very beautiful and important subjects. But imagine if the child's vritti is to become a painter, and we force that child to become an engineer, which is studying maths and science. It is always going to be a life of a bargain for the child, where the child is never flowing, in his or her feeling realm.
Plus, you experience inferiority complex early in your life because what you are naturally aligned to
from your purva janmas, that's what you have.
That is being put down, and something else that you are not naturally aligned with, you are forced to learn.
To learn and compete in that space. Now, so our model brings these 24 subjects in front of the child, and for 6-7 years the child explores all these 24 subjects. Our maths is also taught holistically. It's a macro as well as at a micro level. So while you have Ichcha-Kriya-Gnana in subjects, but if once you're teaching physics, it is also taught with Ichcha-Kriya-Gnana elements coming in. So their book work, their painting, their drawing in the physics notebook will all speak about both the aspects, all the three aspects.
And when the Ichcha-Kriya, Gnana Kriya are being invoked in an indirect way, they are impacting the Panchakoshas.
They are impacting the Panchakoshas because your rhythms, as I told you in Pranamaya Kosha, it is becoming your body memory, and then when the Manomaya Kosha kicks in at the age of 12, that's when man becomes sakriya. It helps you, because you have tasted in your being, you have tasted the joy of learning that subject. Your man, when it starts becoming active, your intelligence starts getting support of your body memory, that no, I have tasted this is good, so I will not get distracted.
True. That exactly. The intellect or the Manomaya Kosha is kicking in earlier than certain other experiences that actually will help you advance to Vignanamaya Kosha. This is the Shraddha that can be built between 8 years to 12 years.
Yes,
is being harmed by an early development of the intellect.
So today when parents come, I tell, don't expose your children to encyclopedias in the young age. Because imagine the child who has actually gone and hugged a coconut tree, has climbed the coconut tree, has sat down under the coconut tree and has seen ants going around, different types of ants, and then reading about the coconut tree, will have a much different experience than a child who has read, in book about the coconut tree, in the theory, but has not actually experienced the coconut tree. Yeah. So, and then that explanation of a coconut tree will prevent the child from really experiencing that coconut tree, because man always filters. Manomaya Kosha filters. It leaves some and it takes some. So that's why in the childhood, the whole experience and exposure should be very, very holistic.
True, absolutely. The intellect creates a false sense of completion in the knowledge it creates, and bars you from further exploration to complete the other dimension of the same
Absolutely.
very knowledge.
Yeah, it prevents you from wholeheartedly going into
it. Fantastic. So, Muniji, very briefly, I'm sure you've been explaining this. Can you tell us how your journey with Panchakosha began?
Okay, so very strangely so, when I returned back from Germany, I actually wanted to start an international school, and I would say
well, you may have.
Today is can I tell it's Janmashtami today? Yeah. And today is Krishna Ashtami, Janmashtami, and it is his blessings that after a few months of my return to India, I actually met Indumati Kaddareji. I met her, and then I attended her session, and it became very clear to me that the direction of education for my life. It was clear when I returned back from Germany, the purpose was education. But further it became clear that it has to be Bharatiya. Nothing else will do for me. And since then I started understanding, going through her books, her work, and it's been last 12, 13 years of Adhyayana with her. Under her guidance, it has helped me. I have been very, very lucky also that in this last few years of 10, 12 years, I met some more wonderful acharyas. And you yourself, speaks about one of them is Narayana Acharya from Karnataka. His works in Ramayana, Mahabharata, phenomenal, and how he's able to connect Bharatiyata with Itihasa and in his own works and in his own being. It was a great example that how your own sampradaya, parampara, bharatiyata, and understanding can come together beautifully. I would like to acknowledge also the role of Ravindra Sharma ji's knowledge from Adilabad. Very lucky to have met him many times, though I would say it looks very short because 4 years ago he left this world, and but nonetheless, sometimes you say that even a small interaction with some enlightened beings is enough to at least show you the path. And his work, his talks, his videos, his senior students, I continue to interact with them, learn from them. And it has been very, very amazing journey because he worked on social aspects of how the social systems in India worked, and Sri Aurobindo's work. And last but not the least, I would like to acknowledge the role of Prabhupada's work, where I was actually shown the path when I read Bhagavad Gita in Germany, and my spiritual master, and senior devotees under their guidance, how things have started integrating in this whole journey. Yeah,
fantastic. Muniji, we are all on a journey to envision a new future. It is with immense confidence that we must undertake this journey. 300 years back, in Europe, a few people with their absolute conviction transformed their own nations, also transformed the entire world's, course. in some good ways and in many bad ways. But we are standing, we're rather sitting on the shoulders of many great sages.
Yes.
And we have the opportunity to see a beyond and a distance that many others don't, not because of our own abilities, but because of the extraordinary work put in by our ancestors. We may be pygmies, but we are still tall because we are sitting on their shoulders. So we now have the enormity of redefining so many things that seem to have gone away from us. Like, you are redefining primary education, which I am sure will influence many more institutions the coming days. We still have the responsibility of redefining social sciences, taking technology away from the directions towards which it is currently headed, and so on and so forth. It is fundamentally a remaking of the civilization with foundations of Bharatiya Parampara. Towards that, I feel that Panchakosha will play a very important role, because at once it is a model of a man. It is also the model, a potential model for an institution. You can imagine an institution having 5 layers or enabling those 5 layers.
Even for a society.
For a society.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that you are working on in this direction? And what are the other opportunity spaces where Panchakosha can be taken, applied, and a new world created from that?
Sure. I think very, very pertinent, very important question in today's context, because I think it's high time as a society we wake up and we start thinking like a Bharatiya, first and foremost. Whether you're an economist or a socialist or an educationist or a person in technology area, because the challenges that the world is facing already and what it's going to face, the solution lies in Bharatiya Drishti. We cannot solve these challenges if we are not taking to our frameworks, because Dharma is what sustains. It is not religion. We have to understand that sustainability inherently means Dharma. And because by virtue of being in Bharat, because by virtue of following Sanatan Dharma and being Hindus, we are proud that this legacy, we are the recipient of this legacy from rishis. So we have to also provide the solution to these issues. Yeah, it's something like we cannot just keep it in our pocket and say ha, I have something, and not use it. So the Panchakosha framework has to be the core framework of our society, of our education system, of our being, because it brings together the social framework of the Purushartha together. It brings the Prakriti framework related to an individual together. It brings the Vyashti, Samashti, Srishti, Parmeshti together. And imagine if our whole upbringing or the whole dynamic society is based on these frameworks, how deep and how vibrant it will be. This is the only way we will be able to bring back our society from Manomaya Kosha to Vignanamaya Kosha back. And society that operates out of Vignanamaya Kosha has maturity of dealing with technology, how much to develop, how to develop, for whom to develop, who should get into it in depth, who should be the user of it. All those, that understanding and that ability is then embedded into that whole framework. At the same time, I am hearing of late in many forums about the need for our humanities and social scientists to wake up and understand our own frameworks, because that's where the solutions would lie. the future otherwise can take us in all different directions, because we are not in the driver's seat, and increasingly we won't be in the driver's seat if we are not getting hold of these frameworks. And believe me, Shivakumar ji, if from childhood, if the person has not grown with these understandings, after 2025 it's just
It's
repair.
hard.
It's very tough. It's mostly a repair work, where to remove the modern constructs and the paradigms with which we have grown, we are not thinking in an integrated way. These frameworks, especially Panchakosha, helps us to see things in an integrated manner. Whereas the modern frameworks actually from very beginning teaches us to see things in a disintegrated manner. So this is a basic, it's 180-degree different, and hence from very beginning we should be actually exposing our next future generations in socio-economic education dimension to our Panchakosha and Purushartha frameworks. I think it's a very, very immediate and urgent need.
Fantastic. It is my dream to be able to build a Panchakosha map of everything, in the sense that a technology, a process or a method should have a Panchakosha framework. An object created should have a Panchakosha framework, in the sense that, does this impact Manomaya Kosha more, or does this impact Pranamaya Kosha more? It's a long way, but even beginning of this journey will be interesting. Even if we can develop a map of this for a few creations of modern world, then I think we would have made a substantial contribution, and over a period of time we should be able to build a map in such a manner that any new object will naturally be associated, just like we list ingredients today. We should be able to say
A table
this is
and
its Panchakosha map. Even if that is faulty, rather closer to reality with some imperfection, we would still have made a significant contribution.
I think it would be a good direction to think, at least to begin with. A tough direction, though. I can take a small example, like giving a mobile phone in the hand of an 8-year-old.
Exactly.
It's a recipe of disaster. It's like a nuclear bomb in the hand of a child.
Yeah, we are today saying that without the technical explanation, which probably Panchakosha will help us evolve, which then will make it intelligible.
Like on white goods, we have 3 stars, 5
Exactly,
stars, like
right?
that.
The
Manomaya
fact-
Kosha some.
Exactly. The fact that you have a green dot somewhere
Yeah.
alerts you, right? Like that, 5 dimensions and 5 different dot sets
will alert you that
alert you.
don't put it in the hand of a child.
Exactly. It's like the traffic lane,
Yeah.
right? So we should be able to do that. Fantastic. That's the direction in which we have to go. My final question to you, you've already answered, in the sense that what is your message to educationists and parents and society, and you already kind of answered. It is the more we explore and internalize our own thought frameworks, which are based on tattvas. The word tattva means that is how the reality is.
Yes.
It is not a concept. Concept is something that we construct around that. But tattva is a reality.
It's a reality.
So
It's always relevant.
It's always relevant. So once we begin to get there, I think a new civilization will emerge. And as worthy descendants of glorious ancestors,
Yes.
this is our pancharana that we have to offer to them. Hopefully, we will be able to offer that. And I must say, Shri Muneet, that you are in an advanced level of offering this pancharana through your.
It's a blessing, Shivakumar ji. I think I just feel very deep gratitude towards that somehow I'm engaging my life meaningfully in this seva. So
Yeah, we are fortunate that we have people like you today who have a very deep understanding of the modern world and the experience of the modern world, and are able to see the limitations of the modern world, and are also able to understand what is the potential of our own uh, uh, thought systems, cultural elements. Now is the time to really scale it and take it forward. Uh, we have a challenge, we have an opportunity. We are also seeming to be ready to undertake this challenge. There is, I see that at once there is conviction, there is confidence, and there is competence. I call this the 3C. To be able to deal with this challenge and not just envision but create the new universe that we so much want.
We are just at the, I would say, at the moment where we are about to launch, our education programs and our replication programs of this model. So I invite people. I would be very happy to, receive many messages and then engage in learning about this model more.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Dhanyavad,
Shivakumar.
Muneet ji. And, we hope to see this being extremely successful. We would like this to be extremely successful. At Indica will be, very closely supporting you. Dhanyavad.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to many more such podcasts in the future.
Sure. Thank you, Shivakumar ji.
Dhanyavad.
Namaste.
Thank you all for being with us in this episode of IKS Changemakers, an Indica podcast. Today, we spoke to IKS Changemaker Shri Muneet Dhiman on Panchakosha, a framework that he has used to develop an entire educational curriculum starting from early childhood to graduation. In each episode, we shall bring to you a new IKS changemaker whose thought and work are essentially Dharma in action through Indian knowledge systems. Dhanyavad.